Anyway, let's get into our conversation for this hour, which is going to be about the crisis that's in the country on gambling and betting. Now, it has been an issue. We even had a conversation here. We had a Shika Mike, one fixer who reached out to us and said, you know what, guys, there's a big issue in our society. We brought him here and he was telling us how he was addicted and now he's getting out of it, and he's trying to help his community to do it, to also get out of it.
Yes.
Our story that was carried, a couple of stories that were carried by our producer, Chege Mwaura, also just looking at what's happening in our communities. And in that story, we highlighted the fact that the Nairobi County Assembly has a bill before it that's considering what to do to address this issue.
Yeah.
The sponsor of that bill is the MCA for Ngara Ward, Chege Mwaura, who's our guest. I knew I was going to call you Karaoke at some point because I have someone called Chege
Karaoke.
Yes, in my mind.
Yeah.
Chege Mwaura, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know you've done a lot of work on this particular bill.
Yes.
And we're going to just get the insights of what you've found, talking to your constituents and others in Nairobi, but also across the country. But before we welcome you to the conversation proper, Mariam is going to give you the day's quote.
All right, I'll share the quote. You can see if it resonates with you, if you agree or disagree.
Okay.
All right, it's an easy one today, an African proverb that says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you've not spent a night with a mosquito. If you think you're too small to make a difference, you've not spent the night with a mosquito.
Very true. Very true. I agree with it because sometimes citizens feel powerless, and maybe your small contribution you think is not going to amount to much. And just thinking about the name of your show, fixing the nation, a conversation. Somebody may just say it's a conversation, but it's actually your small, drop towards that burning bush, as Professor Wangari Maathai would have said. So it's a small gesture, but I think it needs to be applauded, it needs to be appreciated, it needs to be recognized too. I agree with it fully.
True.
Yeah.
Also, do you have any mosquito repellent hacks? No, I'm joking. Nairobi had gotten so hot.
There are mosquitoes that come from Riverside.
Oops, sorry.
People with their rumors in this city.
Okay, rumors everywhere.
Anyway, Mwesh,
Yeah.
this particular bill, let's start with the problem.
Yes.
All right? Do we have a problem with gambling and betting?
Thanks, Eric. Let me start by saying, because I know we grew up in the 90s, and there was, I think, one or two casinos then, the International Casino and another one. Barely no betting firms. We lived in the day of charity sweepstake.
Yeah.
And that is as far as gaming would have gone.
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
I lost 20 bob one day.
Imagine.
Terrible day.
Majority sweepstake.
Yeah.
And then we
Really
also
bet
had
pound.
we also had Popin. You remember, you could come and around Moi Avenue.
Yep.
And that was pretty much it. Then we cross over to the 2000s. Then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Today we have over 60 betting firms, over 30 casinos, and these are the ones, by the way, the big ones who are regulated
In Nairobi.
Yes, and now if that's countrywide, if you now look at the unregulated ones, that's an
Sorry, how many regulated?
66.
66.
Yes, betting firms.
Okay.
And then now, I think the current number was given here is close to 100 and something for betting firms and all that.
Okay.
So that, first of all, needs to sound an alarm to us. And then you now go to, let me just paint some of the statistics. We moved from, currently, 2019, we had 1.9% of the gambling population. By 2023, we are at 13.9%. That's 4 short years. That's one.
From 1.9?
From 1.9
to
13.9%. Then number 2, Kenya was ranked around number 5 in Africa. Today, we are leading. We pitted South Africa, we pitted Ghana, we pitted Nigeria.
Leading in what exactly?
In the population of active active people who can say who are part of the gambling society, or people who actually actively participate
Active
in gambling.
bettors and gamblers.
Yes. And then now, business-wise, 40% of our advertising revenues come from betting firms. So you can imagine the penetration. And then look at now the societal problems that come along with voting, with betting, suicides, the addictions, the family disintegration. And what is government doing? We put a tax on it. We put the money into good sporting activities, and we think that is good.
Yeah.
We say that their jobs have been created, but at the end of the day, if you look at the losses in terms of the societal issues that are brought about by the gambling problem, vis-a-vis the benefits, quote unquote, they don't match. Most of these betting firms and the guys around the gambling program are international, are from countries that in their own countries is forbidden.
Right.
Yeah. If you look at China has, and most, they have concentrated in one area called Macau. That's the only place you can go to bet and do gambling and all those things. This other area is not allowed. And these are, billions of people who are not allowed.
Yes.
So now the new frontier, after they've done, there's a lot of regulation if you go abroad. Africa is we've not caught up in terms of putting stringent rules and regulation to be able to combat the vices. Then it becomes a new frontier. Guys from Eastern Europe show up. And it's just something else. So if you look at that issue and you go now to maybe the lower and the middle lower classes in Nairobi, and then you find those guys who do the slots machines, which by the way must be commissioned and they need to be registered. These are unregulated. You know those shops.
Yeah.
And then you compound it with now the online voting, online betting, where guys with the power of a phone, that becomes a casino. It becomes, the problem now compounds and is on another level. The law that we already had is only in the national level.
Okay.
At the county is somewhere, we started earlier, but because of what we're up against is not very easy. So they went to court. They repealed the law on issues of public participation. So again, that area became wide open. And so what the law wants to do is to capture the ones that are not national and try and protect some of the societal issues that we feel are being infringed on. And it's important to say gambling, by the way, is legal in Kenya. So we are not infringing on any people's rights to do whatever it is with their money. We just feel that if it's rampant and it's open, by the way, even a kid who can access a phone, we have nothing when it comes to age.
Right.
We have nothing when it comes to timing. So it's an open field for
Open market.
everyone, and I think, if you have some regulation being done,
Yeah.
I think we'll start as a conversation to start fixing that problem.
Okay. So I'll start with, what are the gaps in our national framework around gambling that you feel need to be addressed at a county level? Yeah.
The national law specifically centers with the bigger online, the cross county issues that move there. So that is one of the gaps. Number two, if you look at Article 209 of the Constitution, it allows both the national and the county level to tax and seek impose taxation and get revenues from gambling. Now, the national has done it very well because of their weight, and of course, the bigger ones they're able to handle. Now, these small and medium ones are supposed to be regulated by the counties. Then there's that lacuna in law, so they operate unregulated. That is where the problem is.
Are they an illegality or just as it stands right now?
There is no law.
So
the law that
wako
was there,
tu.
wako too. So it's a free field for everyone to do whatever it is that they want, and that has been a problem.
So if I import a slot machine and I tell people, or I don't know, I even come and do patapotea up in the CBD on Kimathi Street. There's no law that holds me accountable to anyone.
Maybe on nuisance, on the other,
Yeah.
you have to conjure up another law to be able to get these guys to be accountable. But specifically when it comes to gaming, betting, lotteries, and the like, there is no specific law that governs the counties. Yes, it was there, but it was repealed. Again, it's important to say when we started, because we are at committee of the whole at the county now, we did the first reading. Once you do first reading of the law, it goes to the committee. The committee now takes it, looks at it with the industry experts and the counties. And we work together with the executive of Nairobi so that there won't be a Chege Mwaura law, which is a private member's law. And then again, the county has its own thinking. So we agreed with the executive, which the trade department of the county deals with betting and all. We agreed to support the bill completely on both sides, so that if you're going to do public participation, we do one good big one.
Okay.
So when we called for public participation through the media and at Charter Hall and all that, surprisingly, like you said about mosquitoes, very few Kenyans show up. So the guys, the industry players also are not, folding their hands and just waiting. They will want something that then look like a lot of regulation that is fixed on them, so that we still are in that mud. So but the public participation was done. Enough time was given. We have a report. Second reading was done. Now we go to the committee of the whole. We have a raft of amendments based on the public participation views that came in, and also the sector players, what they feel needs to be done, and that's the next stage.
I want to go into, Eric. I want to go into detail into what the bill proposes and the amendments you're making, but just from understanding, because I sometimes we don't know what constitutes gambling, right? So when you say gaming, what's that? What's a lottery? What's a bet? Things like that. Just so that we have sometimes we do it without actually knowing.
Yes. Number one, you see the one that you go to a casino and they give you slots and all those things, and that's gambling. I mean, that's you can call that gambling.
Yes.
The betting is the one that is very popular now with soccer.
To be honest, every sport
now has a betting component to it. And then now the gaming is now the popin stuff, pools and all those kinds that you can game. So in a very basic level, that's part of
so is
both.
Aviator betting or gaming?
Aviator is purely betting. And that kanyonde stuff, that is where kwanza our biggest problems lie. Because everyone, young guys, everyone is hooked up with those gaming things that are online. So that is a very big problem. And the easy access to anyone without any regulation becomes a big problem.
Okay. I want to just step back before we come into the law, right? On what you've described. So gaming, betting,
lotteries
and all is not illegal.
It's not illegal.
All right? And you're not seeking to make it illegal.
No.
It's regulated. But those are considered mostly not even income generating. They're not businesses.
True.
For the participants. They're recreational activities.
True.
Okay? But the statistics that you've given us here are showing it's like an increase in the number of stadia in the country. And now we have more places where people can play sports. We have more football fields, we have more padel. Padel, what?
Paddle courts.
And all those kind of things. So an increase in the number of outlets that one can do recreational activity has jumped from just 3 some 35 years ago to over 100 now. Okay? If you look at the population of people who are engaged in this recreational activity, it has become a very popular recreational activity, from 1.9% active population to over 13% active population 3 years ago. right? And because of this recreational activity, just like many others, now it has attracted advertising into it. So 40% of advertising revenue is to popularize this recreational activities. Hey, play football. No,
Right.
play darts. No, play padel. No, play cricket. Okay, play aviator. Okay? So I don't see the problem. You have not painted to me where the societal problem comes in.
Let me say this. Number one, the sports stadia is one of the. It's just like the way you see one guy with a big check has won 100 million. They just didn't tell you that day. By the daily statistics, we are talking about 2.1 billion in betting daily. 2.1.
My 10 bob, your 30,
Yes,
your Evo, they add up to 2.1.
They add to 2.1. If you look at it at the end of the year, we are talking about 200 and something billion. Crazy figures. Now, if you look at, if you did a study and see who's winning and what is the house, because the story is always the house always wins. It's a very tiny margin of the people who actually take home anything.
Right.
But then again, because there's I think a 5% imposed by national government on the proceeds, can you imagine that 5% is that high that you're able to move those stadiums to that level?
Yeah.
And that's just 5%. But then again, if we had maybe pumped, because there's no value addition in betting. You've just churned money that in a recreational way, and it's okay for as far as your legal space is given. But
Hakuna
then,
overheads, hakuna
there's
value addition.
there's no value addition in whatever product. But then the problem now, society, if you see you remember the guy who, I don't know, it was Arsenal who lost, the guy committed suicide, their teachers. If you now go to the stories, when you are doing public participation and you are getting the stories from Muta, some guy...
That's where
the issue is.
Let's take a break,
okay.
Mheshimiwa. We come back, give us those stories.
Okay.
When you went for public participation, when you were preparing this bill, what did you find?
Okay.
And how is it a problem?
Okay.
Chege Mwaura is the MCA for Ngara ward in Nairobi, and he's also the Secretary General of all the MCAs in the country, in the county. It's called what? The County Assemblies Forum. We'll be back in a moment, 29 minutes after 8.
Yeah.
Indeed, back in conversation with Chege Mwaura, MCA, who is sponsoring a bill through the County Assembly of Nairobi for the regulation of betting in the country. And just before we look at what the comments are saying, and because there are several comments, you are at the point where you're painting for us the picture, the negative side of this recreation activity.
Yes, I was saying that when we visited some areas when you're doing public participation, you would hear stories of somebody who was a good school teacher, all of a sudden cannot keep up because he's, first of all, depleted his own resources, and then it gets to a point where you even go and borrow, and then now you become just something else. There's this guy who has a 21-year-old, and the guy, the son picks the mom's phone, gets into Aviator, clubbers around 70K, trying to win.
Whose money?
Mom's money. And mom had borrowed a loan, for a chicken business and all. Then he decides he's in problems, decides to go to the grandmother's, who also, the grandma lives in Ngara. So comes to grandma and says, I am in a big problem, but I can get myself out. If you allow me, do you have some money on the phone? Yes. So I am so sure I can be able at least to recover
Mom's money.
You're 70.
So grandma doesn't know all these things. It's sour. Another 40-something thou goes, and then he decides, now deep problems, disappears for 2 days, the dad is livid and all that. So those are, can you imagine, that's a 21-year-old. You get it? These kinds of examples, there are many. You find, personally, I had this guy in Shags that I employed to, so those mothers who come help you pay Lima, you send him money, Instead of paying them, he decides, let me first of all sort my, wacha niingie hapa nicheze.
Right.
Wipes the money. So mother's asking, where is our
Pesa
money?
iko wapi?
Then I had to pay double because now he just disappeared.
Yeah.
You get it? And so if you hear the stories countrywide, and that's a big problem. Now come to, I was just giving an example of how in the break, we have succeeded as a country. One, with the smoking problem that we had. Kitambo, you would smoke everywhere and it was okay. Mpaka when we put some pressure, we never stopped anyone from smoking. We just said, or the country said, stop buying maybe one stick from the shop. Now you only have to, if you want to smoke, you have to buy a pack. And you have to smoke in a designated area. And it moves non-smoking area, all these places. And it became a bit safe.
Yeah.
And it stopped. You remember the last time you saw an advert of a cigarette? Can you remember? It's nowhere. So these are not things that we're saying that are not possible. Look at alcohol. The same. If you want to buy alcohol today in a supermarket, there are regulated times. You know, you have to start at 10 and by 8 it's closed. So there's some regulation so that guys don't wake up, I don't know, kufungua lock and all those kinds of things to try and help. Lastly, plastic bags. You remember single use?
Yes.
You know, we forgot about them. You know, but when we started, like, how can a country live without, you know,
ile draw yangu imejaa paper bags.
Yes.
What do you want me to do with that? Yeah, all these.
But you remember, today, I mean, it's a story. You go to the supermarket, you go with the one you bought 2 months ago, if it's still good. And so those things, if we agree that we want to unblock our mental, you know, thinking about this thing, they are doable. And by the way, alcohol is not bad. But let me paint this one. Today, if you saw an alcoholic addict, you know, it's very easy to tell. Even a junkie. The problem with betting, you can't tell. You get it? It's not something that you can say wako na kashida sijui ni mchafu. No. He's a normal guy, nini mpaka apate pesa. And then he's in front of something. That is where the problem starts.
Okay.
And so you're not able to pinpoint that this is a person with a betting problem or that kind of a thing. So that becomes a problem because it doesn't have ages, it doesn't have time, it doesn't have all these things. And so the problems, the few that I'm mentioning are the ones who are metokeleze, the ones who are out. The ones who are not talking, you know, by the time we were saying we're having an alcoholic problem in the country, guys, every family was feeling the effect. Today, if you now move and we try and let's not just look at the tax benefit. Let's look at, yes, we are getting the 5% from the revenues, but what is the whole and where is it going? I've told you, bulk of 90% of these big ones are not Kenyan owned.
Yes.
I mean, even the guy we parade and we're happy about owns, I think, less than 5%, and he's the face. You get it? But the guys, the honchos behind with 90% are nowhere to be seen. That money is not invested in Kenya. It's shipped out.
I want to get into the law, but just before that, you've mentioned this thing has no age, and a lot of people still think gambling is a young man's problem. Walk me through how it presents in older men, women, and also in children. Because, you'll think gambling, immediately most people will have a type in their head, and it's a young man or woman, not your mom,
not the older,
or your grandma who's listening to the radio, sending 50 bob every hour.
You know, it starts, I don't know if you listen to these vernacular stations and they have that thing of sijui, there's some simple question, I don't know what, placing 20 bob. You know, that's how the grannies are hooked. You know, it's like, that simple question. Najua sijui nini.
The second president
you
of
know,
Kenya.
Like my 20 bobs ran over there, and then one person after 5 hours is the one who's winning, I don't know how much. So that, in a subtle way, captures the older people. And then now the other ones, of course, young people, because of social media, are more creative in finding even a more, you know, the enthusiasm of fighting, or whatever it is that the adrenaline that comes with it. One day when we were in our lounge, you know, there's this member who said, "Ndege imeanguka." So I was like, what? Me, I thought it was Kenya Air. You know, like, I looked very dumb. You know, like, wapi? You know, so it's like, wapi? Then I looked very dumb. But then, so there are guys who could get. And that is our lounge. These are my colleagues,
Yes.
you know, I just that I can't mention names. Every second tuko bunge, some guys are doing their own thing there. So
Yeah.
it cuts across. Idaye no mheshimiwa, idaye no sijui wewe uko pale chini na ka 20 bob ka 100. Everyone is in the mix.
Okay, tuingie bill sasa. What are the main recommendations of the betting bills? Let me get the name right. Yes, the betting, county betting lotteries and gaming. No, that's the board. The betting and gaming bill. Imekata hiyo jina.
Imekata.
What's the name of the bill?
What's
The
the name?
name of the bill is County Betting Lotteries and Gaming Lotteries and Betting Bill.
Okay.
Gaming
It's
lotteries.
It's a mouthful. Okay.
It's a mouthful.
Okay.
I'll give you a copy because I have it.
Yes.
Two main issues. One is on the restrictions. What are the restrictions or regulations? The key areas within the regulations. Number one, we want to cap on the time. Today, you can bet any day of whatever time you want,
Right.
24 hours. In the big ones, the laws pushed it to about 11 p.m. That's when you can stop whatever. We want to put it so that it starts from 8 p.m. and goes up to about 6 a.m. so that we safeguard the
8 p.m. to 6
a.m.
So-
Usiku is a business. You remember that call-in? You must have heard of it. It used to be called Ringers Up or something. It used to start the time you're not able to watch TV around 9 or thereabout, and goes all the way to around 5.
And this
or
is for
thereabout.
what?
This is
For
for
all gaming lotteries and
for the
betting?
ones in the county, because we have no regulation for the ones beyond, the ones that are marshaled by the national government.
Okay.
That's number one. So within Nairobi, we are putting the time limits for all this to happen between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Okay.
Number two is on the proximity of where Nairobi, because we are the ones who license. Where can we license? It must be very far away from, I think we're saying a kilometer or thereabout, away from the schools, places of worship, recreational. We want to domicile it in CBD, in towns, or the shopping center, very far away from the
Residential.
the residential areas, schools, places of worship, and all that. Number three, I've said about timing, and then place, and then we also want to cap on the age limits, so that we allow the people who have more money to play around with whatever they have, but then the age limits now, and that one will, by the way, this has to work very concurrently with the national government, because everything is going online. Them, they will control the online bit. Right. How do we find a way of regulating this betting within the age limits? Of course, anyone below 18 should not be allowed to engage in these activities.
Okay.
And then number two, that is on regulations. The number two is on a fund. Kitambo, we used to have charity sweepstake, and it used to the cause was supposed to be
charitable, as the name suggests.
Yes, and it died down at some point. So if you look at other countries, they have a national lottery that is very clear, where the proceeds are, where the money goes, and that becomes the country's standard. Or we want to put up something for the county standard, so that we know it runs the whole year. You remember that Christmas tree of, is it the mayor?
Yeah, the mayor's tree.
Yeah, so with that...
Wait, what?
The mayor's
Nairobi
tree.
mayor had a tree?
Yeah, Christmas tree, yes.
My God.
Yeah, those days. And
So
then
it's basically the lighting of the tree. It happens across many cities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nairobi used to do that.
used to have,
We used to have the mayor's
there's
tree.
an actual tree just outside KICC, opposite City Hall, governor's office. So you can put that tree and, good causes,
Right.
like charitable events. You can pull that money to be able to, in a very open manner, so that at least it becomes the county standard, that if you want to put up gaming, this is how to capture it and all that. So that fund is also a highlight of that bill. So usually the main thing is, of course, is how to set up the fund and all that. And then there's also the board which is going to run it. And then now there's clauses on restrictions, how we're going to go about it. And then if there are issues, you remember with the day, nowadays there's even AI. Like if you bet sana, it even knows your temperament, it knows how, how do you now with those trends? Because they know maybe Eric here has a tendency, he can bet up to or 100,000.
Yeah.
Mimi ni mwoga, mine is 2,000.
Right.
So it knows it can push Eric to 89,000 up on 92, it closes.
Yes. Even
as he's
knowing
hoping.
that if I give Mariam one win, she's more likely to bet like two times more or something. So give her the first win.
Yes.
I'd not thought about AI in betting. Mm-hmm.
So those are now the trends. We also, how do we now, this board that we are putting, how does it now react to issues that are now will be, upcoming? Okay. Issues that are more external but are important in moving forward, so that we don't again come making laws and all those kinds of things. So those are many areas that basically we're looking at. And then where does the public come in? We have a liquor licensing board. What we do, there's a committee when it comes to how liquor is managed in Nairobi, that if you want to put up this bar, I don't know where, there's a committee around that area that must approve. Now, if there's a bar that you don't like and whatever, then you start by that report. Who sits in this committee and what did they say about it?
Yeah.
So again, if we did the same for betting, who allowed this license to be given if the community had already objected to it?
Right.
So that, and then now marrying public participation, a proper one, with the how we regulate and how we do laws, that link. Yeah. So basically that's, in a nutshell, that's what the bill wants to do.
Okay. The objects of the bill. I hear you. I've got a number of questions that I just need to understand. So you're saying that there are the national bill regulates some areas at national. Please explain to us that difference. That there are some that are captured by the national law that does not capture the county laws.
Yeah.
Explain. I'm not understanding that at all.
This is where the confusion comes from. Schedule, I told you about Article 209 that allows us to impose taxes. Then you come to the fourth schedule of the Constitution, first part, Article 34 of the first part, gives the national government, basically fourth schedule tells what national can do and county can do. So in the first part, it tells you what national can do. In the second part, county. So in county, it talks about betting, casinos, and all those things. The same wording, only that at the first part of the schedule talks about national. So it's the same things that we are doing, only that it's national. This other one, same thing, but excluding the national word. So there is tendency that the national government is able to superimpose itself completely on the basis of it's a national function. But then now when it comes to counties, and that's why this law needs to find a way of convergence with the national. And remember, Nairobi is where bulk of the betting happens in the country. So there must be a conversation between what's happening in the national and what is happening specifically for Nairobi as a county that has this problem. And so while we are also working on the law, there's a lot of agreeable, especially in the amendments, where national government needs to be involved and county government needs to be involved when it comes to this. Otherwise, there will be always somebody overstepping the other as we are looking at. It's a gray area, and I agree with you. It's just that the law needs to, we have attempted. But then in the amendments, we have even been more explicit in allowing that there should be a convergence between those two specific entities that are allowed to tax and whatever. And let me say that it's also a revenue-making opportunity for the counties, because at the national level it does that, and that money, that percentage goes to sports fund, and that's why all of a sudden you saw I think the president is able to give Kenya sports, soccer, all this money is coming from sports fund.
Some prize monies here and there.
And so those nice things we are saying must also, we don't see a lot happening in terms of corrective measures. I mean, today there's an issue of they're called mental illnesses. We are not seeing a lot of that, and psychological and psychosocial issues that are being affected or that are coming up with these kinds of suicide and those kinds of things. We need to find a way to put some money to support us in these kinds of things.
This is what even that sport fund was supposed to do. But I am worried here that this bill at Nairobi City County government, if it just goes on into the other counties, is basically a revenue-raising bill for the counties and not necessarily addressing this societal issue of gambling, betting, gaming, right? Because show me why the law at the national level has not been able to address this, that then a law at county level is going to be able to address it. Because it's the same thing. I mean, if it's an I'd think it's enforcement that has made some of those unregulated ones get away with it.
Yes.
It's a lack of proper enforcement framework. But the national law is sufficient to cover all these things. It talks about, it can be amended to include some of these areas. If you're saying, 8 p.m., proximity, the national law can be amended to cover all those things. So show me why we need two pieces of legislation and two levels of government dealing with the same issue.
Because, you see, let me address that revenue issue and then I come back to this. The revenue issue for us is not the biggest, as far as this law is concerned, is not the biggest. Because if you look at the one that had a problem with public participation, it had put, I think, 10 or so % for entertainment tax and all that. We've reduced it, right? Because the goal for us is not purely revenue raising. At the national level, even if you put it at even a lower %, but you can imagine the magnitude. For you to get a betting license, $1 million shillings, So all those things at that level becomes too high. So for a revenue point of view, yes, there's an incentive around it. But then once you get the money and it's put in the fund, how do we now regulate the fund? The fund is very clear that I think 1 or 1.5% is what is going to be used administratively. These other percentages are also put in these good causes. So now we can ring-fence money for health, money for sporting, money for all these things. That is where that space that does not ring-fence money to be able to do these things, that's where the problem is. Again, if you look at the one that we have for liquor, we are supposed to be putting up rehabs and all that. We've done one. I think they're also doing another one in Mutwini. Yeah, there's one in around Kayole. There's one coming up around Hamza and that kind of thing. So Kitambo, no one was pushing them to that because I also we oversight them because I'm also in Public Accounts Committee. We ask what is the percentage that is going towards the core mandate, and then we had a conversation with the chief officer on this, and we are very clear that while we would want to do some administrative things, a certain percentage must also be very clear by the time you're closing your books that is going to your core courses.
Yes.
And so again, here what would be the core courses, and then now the public also comes in. The more there's a robust conversation around it, the easier for you to be able to ask these questions. Okay. You got 100 million in terms of levies. How did you spend 100 million? 98 million went to, I don't know, travel and whatever. Then now you start bringing problems. And moving forward as a country, I saw the debate we had earlier, budgets, and when is June? I mean, that's where we pass the budget, but you're having this conversation this early. It's very good so that people start interrogating past vices and laxities and all those kinds of things. So regulation, revenue, yes, but even as we get the revenue, how are we going to spend that revenue?
Okay. I wrote even down on the zoning just like a big question mark, because Nairobi essentially isn't zoned. Kama mi pale naishi, maybe niko second floor, ground floor ni supermarket, na kuna shule juu yangu.
So that
am I in a residential? Am I in an education? Genuinely, the zoning is
so in that case, then of course there will be that committee that approves, but in that case, because of that residential component, then it is not possible to put up a gaming, and there's a school upstairs, and the kids, you put it out. Remember when it came to cigarettes, we used to have those nice embassy, I don't know what adverts when we were growing up. Today it's not a problem, but there are guys who still feel they need to take a smoke. They still do it. They know where to get it. They go and confine themselves in areas that are designated, and it continues.
Right. Okay. I think it's really good legislation. I'm thinking from a commercial perspective. Is there the possibility of now double taxation between county and country, national government?
There is that possibility, and that's why we gave a safeguard of whatever is happening at the national also need to happen at the county in terms of that convergence. Let me give you a good example. If you put up a casino, there are gaming officers who come from the county who must be there to, I don't know, to open, I don't know what when you're doing that, and then do those returns. It's not
a national
whatever. But then the license came from the national. So where does the national start and stop? Where the county starts and stop? I think from government it's easier, because again the industry players are not so many. It's so hard to double tax because also the industry players are not at somewhere rolling their eyes waiting for us to do whatever. They are up in arms, they are following. This debate is also important to them. If you need, when they were passing the national law on betting, I went to those hearings, and they were willing, what is it called? And Treasury wanted that money to first hit the national coffers before it goes to sports fund. The fight that was there, and even they were willing to take the whole committee out and pamper them, and there's a lot of lobbying around it
because they know what happens if that money hits Treasury.
Exactly. So there's a lot of lobbying that will also happen when it comes to now passing. But the most important thing, and maybe it's important to mention, that even when we now when these things go to court and all that, let it not be the easiest knockout is a technicality. Public participation missed, I don't know what. It was in one newspaper, not in something, and you just strike it off. Sometimes that conversation can happen without necessarily giving a stay, because once you give that stay, all hell breaks loose.
You stop everything.
Okay.
Thank you very much, CA, for coming and joining us. I just want to close up with just a couple of the comments that came in. Gikombe saying, gambling is such a mess in our society. Even our politicians, like our president, abet it. Ati majembe we kamawe. Mwaura Simon says, another negative impact of gambling is that university students use the school fees to gamble, and they lose the money and fail to continue with school. I have a friend who discontinued from the university due to this aviator gambling, and the idea that makes people lose more money is because when one loses, they try to recover what they lost.
True.
Ride Rental says, red light, green light. When the county wants to earn from betting and gambling, they are worse than the gambling itself. Yeah. Chege Mwaura, MCA, Ngara Ward, Secretary General of the County Assembly's Forum, has been our guest. We'll invite you for siasa za county ya Nairobi.
Yes.
Yes, asante sana.
Thank you.